Hello and welcome to vlog number 105. After last week where I absolutely hammered myself to stay on top of it and stay normal while Rosie was in hospital, this week with Rosie getting out of hospital last Sunday, which was wonderful, and recovering really well through the week. Today we had the final checkup and she's been given the all clear, so big thumbs up. But all of this week has really been about family and not about hobby, and so actually I've not done my 20 minutes at all this week, which is the first time since January the 1st that I've had a whole week off. I've done a day here and there when I've been unwell or whatever, but I've just decided that I need to sleep, rest, recover. Angela's also been unwell, so it's been a bit of a kind of challenging week all round, and not so much about the hobbying. Most of what you see filmed here is actually from today, Saturday, as I stand here talking to you, so yesterday as I released this. As I slowly but surely managed to get myself back into a little bit of a hobby thing. The only things that was not about today is the most exciting thing, which was Rosie was helping me a little bit. She's first time, and I do mention this in a clip, but I want to say this now, first time ever that Rosie has helped me do some hobbying. But I'm rambling. Let's get to the video. It's only a short one this week. Let's see how next week goes. It's a hobby, not a job, and I'm happy with what I've done this week. It's been brilliant to focus on the family. And it's also good to have the urge to get back to my desk and not to force myself, and that's very important. As everyone knows, that's how I think. So there we are. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you've had any time off and if you struggle to get back to it, or if you've been able to get back to it in the past. And I really hope that you enjoy the few clips that are following now. This has sat in a box for weeks. And I've decided that it is time to actually do something about it, and I've had a look at it and I've realised actually it's not all that well printed. If we have a look here, you can see there's quite a lot of like damage or splitting the layers. They should have been supported in between and weren't. Not sure exactly why that happened, whether it was a lack of time on a lack of time per layer, or whether the supports were just rubbish. But anyway, the biggest issue I've got at the moment is that they just don't fit together. So if we have a look here, you can see that the depth of this inlet here, this inset here, this key is not deep enough. On top of that, if we have a look at it from the side, you can see it's really badly bowed. And these actually, because they're bowed, are actually at a wrong angle. So even if things were deep enough, they wouldn't fit. But what I've done is I've printed out the instructions. So this nice 3D render which shows how it goes together. And I've worked out how everything goes together. I think I'm not 100% sure how some things go together. And I do seem to be missing one part, which is a bit annoying. But I'm going to need to get my sand on. So you can see here that I've worked out that this here is the back part, and I actually have the option, and I'm a little undecided as to whether I'm going to do both or not, but I can make it landed, which would be that one. So you can see that's got its feet down and it's got its back open. So I can do a landed one, or I could do a flying one, and that's the flying one. So I've printed out both sides, and you've got like the feet are retracted up, and in the same way as that on the front, you've got the retracted here. This is what it looks like with the retracted one, and then here is the one with the feet on it. So yeah, so I'm going to focus on the flying one. That's the one I want to do first. So I'm going to put the other ones to one side. Yeah, so the ones that are for landed are going to go to one side, and I'm going to work on it as if I'm going to do it with the flying one. What I'm going to do now, and I'm not going to film it because it's going to be really tedious and not very interesting to watch, but I'm going to come along, put my mask on. So I'm not going to do any of this until I've got my mask on. I'm going to cut all the keys off because they've just gone badly, and then I've got some of these sanding pads, and what I'm hoping is I'm going to be able to sand with them and maybe use water as well to keep the dust down and get that curve out. Now, I don't know if it's going to work, and I am considering that it may not. and I may need to get myself, and I've been thinking about getting one for a while for other projects as well, but get myself a sanding, like a belt sander, and I might need to go and pick one up, because you can see that particularly is very bad. I mean, it's just awful. So I'm going to need to sand that completely flat, otherwise it's just not going to meet. And in doing that, I might even sand a lot of the material away, and I don't know whether it will glue together, so it might end up being an aborted project all from the start. But anyway, that's a bit of a wordy way of bringing this project back to life. I'm very keen on getting it done. I think, like I say, I've worked out how things go, so you can see here the engines kind of go on a bevel. You might even be able to put some magnets in that, but I'm probably not going to. I'm probably just going to glue that together. But the first thing I need to do is clean up all these subsections, make sure everything can stick together, potentially glue in these in there. And then once I've got the subsections cleaned and able to be stuck together, then I can prime them without priming the in-between bits, and paint them, assemble them into the painting sub-assemblies, and then get painting. And I do have a nice idea for a diorama, so this is not just going to be a build. But I'll bring you back, tell you how it's gone, tell you if I needed to do the get a belt sander or not, or whether I've managed to do it with these sanding blocks. But yeah, I'm going to stick some videos on now, and just get started on sanding down, cutting and sanding down these ends. That's the first thing I need to do is the bits that join. I need to get them sanded.
Well, I'm talking to you behind a mask because there's so much dust, and I've also got my you get in front. Oh yeah, I've also got my goggles on. So I tried a few things. This worked quite well actually, but I've ended up with the Dremel, and that's caused dust everywhere, so I'm going to need to get the hoover out and clean everything and dust myself off and change my top because it's covered in resin dust, and go and beat that because it's nasty stuff. But I've got close enough. It's not very great. There's going to need to be some filling, but it's better than it was, and it will glue together now, and it will do a good enough job. So yeah, pleased I started that. I've just done that all in one go this evening. So I'm going to take myself out of my protective gear, get myself tidied up, cleaned up, and then I will be back with the next update on this shortly.
So the next thing to do now this is dry is decide how I'm going to mount things. And so to that end I have a bag of very dirty, which may not be used, holofill, which came out of an eaten, destroyed dog bed. I have some clean stuff as well, which I'll probably end up using, but that will be purposed to build up clouds. You can see that this is now fully dried and is nice and flat. What I think I'm about to do now, and I'll do it on camera if I do, is I'm going to cut out the shape, including cutting it from the cardboard, because what I'm then going to do is I'm going to mount it to something a bit thicker. I've realised I probably should have done this straight away, but it doesn't matter. It's not the worst thing in the world having this on mounting board. But I probably want to have something a little bit more structurally sound for it to be mounted to, because I'm then going to be bringing things forward, and potentially I need to be able to support metal being drilled through or whatever, and having, like for example, a pterodactyl kind of like attached by wire to the back, so it's not just glue but it's actually got something structural. And I probably need something a bit thicker than this cardboard, so I'm going to glue it possibly, I think, to some XPS, not to some wood, to some XPS. Can be a bit easier for me to work with. Having said that, wood will be better for me to be able to drill through and attach things to. So first off, I'm going to cut that out, and I'll do that on camera straight after filming this little section, because what I've got here is a shelf, which is what it's going to be the base, and I've basically spray painted that black, which I don't normally use spray paint, but I've spray painted that black because on top of that we will have clouds like this, which will then also be sprayed to give the correct impression and to match up and marry up with the background. What I'm probably going to be doing is having it pretty much entirely cloud as the base, because it's quite a cloudy day in the backdrop, and then building it up towards the corners with this. And what I'm probably going to need to do is build a framework of wire, which I'll then attach the clouds to. So the wire will be put into the wood, glued in place, let to set, and then I'll stick the clouds around it. And what that means is this is a build which is out of my comfort zone. I wing it. That is how I work. Any regular viewer of mine will know that. And planning, I do plan, I think, but I react more than I plan, definitely in my builds. And this is one where I need to work it out, make sure everything's right, put together a wire framework. That wire framework will also support the ship, the boat, which is here, as you can see. So it needs to be quite strong, yeah, that's going to be a bit of an outlier for me, a bit of a new experience. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and glue the backdrop to something a bit thicker, or at least cut the backdrop and find something to glue it to that's a bit thicker, and then I will start to plan out where this framework's going to go, how I'm going to actually position everything, how I'm going to attach everything, get that done. And once I've done that, it should just be a case of setting things in place, gluing them, and it's finished. Most of the effort is going to be in that wire framework. So most of my time on camera for this project is going to be in that wire framework. So yeah, let's see how well this goes. And first of all, let's get this picture cut. I'm going to make use of my new shorter Victor cutting bar, which I recommend so highly, and also the slightly longer one that I've had for a little while. I'm going to get this cut. So I'm going to make use of a sharp Stanley knife. You can use a hobby knife, but I like a Stanley knife because you can get the blade nice and long and get it held nice and flat. And this is going to be, as I always say, do not be in a hurry when you're cutting things. Multiple gentle passes will give you a smoother cut than trying to cut it all in one go. And there we are. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm going to get the rest of that cut on the other three sides, and yeah, that's going to look really, really good. A good cutting tool, a good cutting straight edge is absolutely top of my list of recommendations. Honestly, spend the money. They're not cheap, but they'll save you cutting, and they give so much of a better, more stable, slip-free experience. And I get nothing for saying that. Trust me, they don't sponsor me the amount of money I've spent with them, but they're really, really worthwhile getting a really, really good cutting edge. Do it. I've been gluing these pieces together. As you can see, I've got these clamped at the moment. Just trying to get them so there's not so much filling. There's going to be quite a lot of filling. I screwed up a bit on this front bit. It's not quite straight, which is why this back bit is clamped so strongly. I wasn't able to break the super glue grip, so it's just tough. I'm just have to put up with it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine in the end. But one really cool thing that I did want to highlight is these bits back here, which are the landing gear, are glued in, and Rosie helped me. And that is the first time Rosie's ever done anything in my hobbying, and it was really awesome. She was so pleased and so proud of herself, and yeah, I'm tearing up thinking about it. Just wonderful. I put the glue on, and she pushed them in place, and then she smiled. And what more can you ask for? So hopefully, more and more and more, she'll be getting involved in this. I'll be able to include her and involve her in this creativity, and it'll really help her. I'm gonna get her helping me to glue some more bits on this, hopefully over the weekend. Yeah, because there's some things that she can really help me with, like these little missile pods and what have you. I do need to be careful because I don't want to glue it all together and then have a real pain in the backside of a painting job. But certainly I do want to have as few component parts as possible, so that it will kind of like, you know, look good when it's done. And I don't have to like scrape paint off when I'm looking to glue things on. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad with how it's going. There's going to be a fair bit of filling. I think that's probably going to be my next task, is going to be filling in these gaps, and I'll bring you along for that. I think I'm actually going to have to bust out the green stuff, or something like that. It's not going to just be gap filler, it's actually going to have to be structural. And then I'll probably do that next, and then stick the next bits on, and then we'll get to painting. But yeah, the most important thing to highlight is Rosie helped me, and that was awesome. This week has been really difficult. obviously, with everything that's been going on, and very, very little hobby, as you can tell from the rest of this vlog. However, there is an opportunity to make use of the skills I've built up, where I'm going to fix this awesome book of Rosie's. It's basically a puzzle book, literally. It's a book with jigsaw puzzles in it, as you can see. And unfortunately, it's separated away, which makes it very, very difficult for her to use, because the puzzles all go kind of slide off and go underneath the edges, and it's a bit of a pain. So what I'm going to do is fix this with some PVA glue, clamp it down, leave it for the day, and then later on it will be as good as new, and Rosie will be very happy. So while I might not be doing very much hobbying, I am able to make use of some of those skills to make Rosie's stuff better. So there we are. Just another little thing. Well, this required quite extensive use of clamps to get this to be joined together, but it seems to have worked okay. I'm just loosening the clamps now to see whether it pops apart. It doesn't seem to be, which is very good news. There we are. So that's worked well, and I've managed to not damage the ends. That's a relief. Good. So what I'm going to do now, let me just move the clamps, make a bit of a noise. What I'm going to do now is I have my milliput, and I'm going to milliput up these gaps. So I've got quite a bad gap here that needs to be smoothed over. Not very much of one here. That might be able to be done even without milliput, but certainly the gap here, you can see, does need to be milliputted, particularly here. So I'm going to work that in and make sure that what I end up with looks nice, without terrible gaps. And then I'm going to continue to glue more stuff on. So I'll bring you along for show you how much milliput gets put in. I might even run the camera a little bit while I'm doing it, but I need to have a bit of a kind of play and look to see what I want to do. But it could end up being quite extensive. So I'm going to have a bit of a look, and then I'll bring the camera back and show you what I'm doing. It's a little bit of progress. Still very slow on this project, but gently does it. So this has been a lot of fun. I've got quite a lot of the milliput on, as you can see. I'm just coming to the very end. I thought I'd just do the last little bit on camera while you can see. So I've got the milliput in water here. I just find that makes it a bit easy to work with. Oh, and I drop it there. So I turn it into a sausage, basically. I roll it out as a sausage with my fingers. Makes it a lot easier to work with and position. And I'm largely just using my fingers and water to put this into place, which does make it a bit messy. But if you've got yourself a little bit of a paper towel and a sculpting tool, you can quite easily move it from the places you don't want it to, where it's not responding to pushing it with the fingers. But pushing it with the fingers, I find, just results in quite a bit of a smoother result, where you don't want quite such a step. And then you can come along and you can scrape off what you don't want with your tool, and maybe use that somewhere else. So for example, I might want to put some, I don't know, can't see anywhere, just here, behind here, where you can't actually see it. But just on the other side, there's a little bit of a gap there, so I can just smudge that in there. And yeah, that's how I've been going about doing it. And then soak up any water which is getting in the way with a towel. This is something I'm not all that good at, and I'm learning, so any hints and tips that might improve would be grateful. Leave them in the comments below. But this will give me a good enough result that a very light sand, once it's dried, will give me a smooth enough finish to paint. So there we are, filling in these gaps from where I had basically a bad print result. Didn't realise quite how bad it was until I started putting it together. So there we are. Anyway, so I will now let that to dry and go off, and then I'll come along and sand it. And in the meantime, actually, while this is going off, I can continue to assemble. So let me just show you the next bit that I'm going to glue on. There we are, I'm happy with that. So the next bit I'm going to glue one of these here. It's taken a little bit of time to work out where they go, but I'm pretty sure that what they do is that they glue on here, somewhere towards the back, maybe right at the back of that little step there, I think. It's taken a little bit of working out. The picture's not exactly clear, but it does seem to sit quite nicely when I put it there. So I think they're going to go upright. I do appear to not have quite enough pieces again. I need to get my printer fixed. It's currently not working. I've got an issue which will appear in a future video when I get it fixed. So yeah, so I do need to fix it, but that goes there, and then I'm not going to glue this bit on, but this bit then goes here and can go at an angle. So I think that's how it works. The only other way it could go is potentially slotting in like that, but I haven't been able to get that to work as well. So it could slot in like that. The problem I'm having here is the picture is really useful, but it's not actually showing me from all angles. So it could even be that they glue in like that, and that might actually even look a little bit nicer. I'm going to glue them in like that, just using super glue, and then I'll let that all dry and come back to that again another time later when everything's dried. Not far off a good place for painting as well. The other things that are left is the engine pod, which sits on this side, and I think that I might need to print out another one of these to go on the other side. I've got the foot, which goes underneath, which I will stick in before I paint. So that is one more thing that will be glued in, but I'm going to wait for all of this to go off first. And then I've got this cool little attachment here, which goes there. And it's supposed to have a gun on each side, but I've only got one of them, so I think I'm short there. So anyway, there's a couple I might be short. I think most of it's here. I might just do the short bits as battle damage, the easy way of escaping. But yeah, this is I think, the more I look at it, the more I think that goes on there. So I'm going to glue those in place now. Well, there we are. It was short, as I said. Just a couple of projects worked on. I'm fixing Rosie's book, but this is the life of hobbying. It's not always going to be hell for leather like mine normally is. Sometimes you do take a week off. I'm not entirely sure what next week's going to be like. We'll see, with Rosie getting better and both Angela and I finally also recovering. Hopefully I'll be a little bit more able to hobby, have a little bit more emotional energy, and get back into it a bit more. But we shall see. If it's not, then it's not. I'll still be back next Sunday. I always am. Even if I have to stand here and say, well, I did nothing this week, then I will still do a vlog, because this is number 105 and I haven't missed one yet, and I really don't want to. And having you guys watching really does mean a lot to me, and really encourages and inspires me, and particularly your comments really help. So thank you so much for all of those. And I know I say that every week, but I really do mean it. So I'll wrap this up now. Thank you for getting this far if you did. And as always, please, for you and your families, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.